You're live. I hope I'm live. Okay, this is one of those videos that at first it was just going to be kind of a placeholder video, and then I kind of thought about some other things that I wanted to talk about. So I didn't use the same thumbnail I was going to use. I used a different one that I may have used before. I don't even remember. And but I didn't put any of the writing and stuff on it. That's the wrong menu. Okay, so every month, for those of you who are tuning in who don't just watch my boot videos, or you mostly watch my boot videos and you clicked on this one just because, once a month I kind of assess what the weather looks like and what the season is doing and that sort of thing, and I give myself the opportunity to change my styling a little bit if warranted, or whatever. And I made a video about that already. I won't go all into it. So like this month, we're in kind of a pilot safari, nautical preppy kind of mode. And with the weather's been changing a bit, and I had discarded, I didn't get rid of the clothes, but I stopped wearing the more Western wear, which doesn't work very well in the summer anyway. So the cowboy look went out, even though I still have a bunch of pairs of cowboy boots that I haven't even worn yet and that kind of thing. So I rolled the dice of fate with my little list of typical, sub niches of clothing or whatever that I own, and basically got to the point where it eliminated all the other choices besides the sort of mountain look, as I call it, mountain man. Mountain man being kind of two styles, the original traditional hunter-gatherer trapper stuff I don't really own, like, my own handmade leather deerskin fringe jackets or anything. I don't have, and hats made out of beaver pelts and all that. More of an updated, modified version of that than, so here in episode 65, I had used the same thumbnail and I just wrote boat shoes on it. That was when I got kind of late. This will focus on probably 2 or 3 of the same pairs, but not all of the same pairs. Some of what I called boat shoes, and the other one are what are also called camp mocks or whatever, yada, yada, yada. So there's a little bit of overlap. So even though I might, consider this a boat shoe, it's technically also a mountain shoe because it's a camp mock. But when I made that video, I think I made a pretty good distinction about how an outsole like this is kind of more made for boating, sailing, whereas an outsole like this is clearly more intended for hiking around the campsite, and you wouldn't wear this on a boat, even though they're both moccasin toes, and even though this one still only has like 2 eyelets instead of 1, it doesn't have 3. This one has a 3rd, actually. So LL Bean, I think, was calling this the Camp Mock or something similar also. So they had similar names as far as I remember. So anyway, I'll come back to that in a minute. But like I said, I can show you a bit of the wear and tear because when I first unboxed these in the previous boat shoe video, they were brand new and now they've been worn a bit, but not a ton. So anyway, so most of the stuff that I usually talk about, when it comes to autumn, well, here's some LL Bean like sweaters, and I got a similar sweater to both of those last year. As you may recall, if you're fans of this channel, I already got some of those kind of sweaters. And this green and burgundy one looks really appealing to me if I didn't already have 50,000 sweaters, but I kind of do. And here's some flannel shirts while we're on the subject. Like I said in the description, I don't know if I ever need to do another video on sweaters. I did like 3, and I've done several flannel shirt videos. Here's a shirt that's not flannel that I almost bought these two colors. I did get the blue and white one up here at the top. I got that one. I didn't get either of these two that I kind of liked because I already have 800,000 shirts in those kind of colors. And I did get the one in the short sleeve that I talked about in the Texas video and maybe a different video before that. But I didn't want to go overboard with short sleeve stuff because I already have a lot of short sleeve shirts. That one being more of a stretchy fabric, this one being a standard cotton. One thing I was going to mention, come on. The one time I have an issue. I do have the list of the 12 boots in 12 weeks that I've been straying from. That will be a separate video when I get back to that. Should I have done this? I don't think it matters. I think this is only going to be like 2 parts. For those of you who are just checking in, we're in part 1. Part 1 is, you know, sweaters and flannel shirts and stuff that I typically buy some stuff from LL Bean. But this year, oh, and here's the jacket. I don't know if they changed the weight of the fabric of that jacket, but I do have one in the garage from the previous year that is definitely an autumn kind of looking staple if you're into that sort of thing. Definitely can be a mountain piece. But yeah, I'm not going to go through that list. I did wear about a dozen new shirts this year that I actually finally took out of the bags or got new. 3 of them were linen. I think only that one was LL Bean though, the stretch. Yeah, the blue Mustang polyester airplane one from Cockpit or whoever. There was the blue chambray similar to this. There was the blue Pilot with the long sleeves similar to this again, but solid colors, or marled, slightly marled. I finally wore the one of the tan striped Gatsby ones. I did photos of that, I think, in the community menu, and I definitely did a photo of the cross-hatchy, not quite checkerboardy one. That was a tan and white. That one I think was a linen blend, not a full linen. And then I did finally wear that one safari shirt with the linen blend also. That one was probably the itchiest of the bunch. I did break out the polo shirt, the red, white, and blue, but it wasn't one of the yellow bean polo shirts that I wanted to showcase for the channel, and I never got around to wearing that one yet. Maybe tomorrow. I just kind of threw this on for now for the video. Fans of the channel remember me complaining about this shirt being too warm in the spring, but here we are. Not in spring anymore. Back when I was doing mountain or nautical for a month back then. And then there was the 5-pocket linen pants, the chambray shorts, which I'm actually wearing again right now, and which I have matching pants of the same thing. So when I was talking about that chambray shirt, I'm talking about the exact same fabric as these shorts. So that's also, there's photos of that. Although it's cooling down, we're going to have a nice cool week. So I'll be wearing pants this week finally, and maybe walking some of these boots that I'm not getting to do today. And redhead yellow plaid long sleeve. That was a the whole shirt wasn't yellow, it had yellow mixed in. So that's a mountain shirt that I will definitely be wearing in about 10 days or whatever, weather permitting. Yes, that's one of the ones that will be coming back into the rotation with some others. Now, the one highlighted boot that we have here, or 2 actually, that will matter most to us will be the Keene, Kansas City. And I brought that in on purpose to showcase next to the LL Bean pages. And the Thursday Challenger, which is not in here, but it's similar to a Pacific Northwest logger boot with a high heel, but a shorter height for the, excuse me, the shaft is 6 inches instead of a typical 8 or 10 inch length. And then the Thursday President and the Grant Stone. excuse me again, a couple pairs of the diesel boots. Another pair that I might get thrown in finally are these brown suede chukkas. I've worn the tan ones in the past. They're a little toe crunchy. I bought them several years ago, but they still mostly fit. So I'm going to try and get some use out of these finally. Even though technically they're desert boots, not mountain boots, but they're kind of perfect for autumn for a lot of things where I don't necessarily want to wear a full, big, chunky boot like I've been doing, trying to break in those work boots, the overtime boots. And those have gotten a fair amount of wear without really working in them, but I bought them to be hiking boots, and then blah, blah, blah. I started using other hiking boots, and I feel like I talked about all this already in a recent videos, but so for the shoes and sneakers and things, I guess we're going to switch to part 2 already and just not belabor the clothing thing. I know I'm going to come back and talk about the clothing thing again soon because, of course, we're shifting from the whole preppy thing to a more rugged, outdoorsy, warm, a slightly different version of the warm, cozy autumn thing, but in a sense, maybe even a more traditional than the, New England Ivy School version of it, where, you're putting a sweater on over your casual shirt. Here we're going to a even more casual shirt, and instead of a sweater, maybe a zip vest or a quilted vest or something along those lines, as a layering piece. Again, the LL Bean jacket, if we need something for a little more wind resistance, but not quite waterproof, that kind of thing. And of course, yes, sweaters, but again, more casual sweaters, less formal sweaters. Definitely not cashmere much. Definitely more cotton and wool. I don't know why I put part 2 already then if I'm still talking about sweaters. It happens. As I've said in the past, the true bean boot, the original, I have the Sportsman's Guide version that is similar to these. I have a couple pairs of those, so I've never had the LL Bean ones, but I live in California, so I don't usually need them. These I just saw, they're kind of a similar looking to a wedge sole, kind of trying to be more of a work boot. I'm talking about not the pull-on ones, the other ones. I don't really care if there's glare on the pull-up ones because I want to show those ones. So yeah, I haven't tried these out either, but they look a little bit more traditional. They do have a sort of Moc-Toe. So that's something that they now offer that I have the Thorough Goods and the Golden Fox and Wolverines and stuff that's kind of maybe more similar to that. I don't know how these stand up for work because I haven't tried them yet. And some of these are men's and women's, so I'm not, positive which ones are which exactly. A and D. A is men, D is women's. They both look exactly the same from what I'm seeing here in that particular model. And but most people, I think, would argue that the wedge sole, again, not similar to this, not exactly ideal for hiking. Okay, so one more bean pages here. What we got? Oh, I'm going in reverse order. Okay, more shirts. The polo shirts that I got a couple of those already and haven't worn the one yet or whatever. Their t-shirt that I thought was nice, but it's $40, same as some other t-shirts. This is the polo shirt I was talking about with the two-tone with the reddish pink. Okay, so yay. Okay, so that's out of order, but so shirts I have and shirts that you might want and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is the new pages or newer pages, right, of the shoes. So what's changed since last year or whatever year I got those ones, I don't know. Like I said, I wore that one pair on Thanksgiving last year for the first time, and they were kind of bouncy. And then here's this page has like similar to the ones that are next to me. And this one has two styles that I think I still have, but it looks like they've changed the color a little bit. So it looks like the Camp Moc Cactus is the new color, or what I was calling the Camp. And then this one down at the bottom also is called Cactus. That one I have in blue. It's slightly different. That one's a boat shoe, or it might be this one. No. Which one are you? Yeah, that one's got two eyes, and these have one eye, so it's neither of these. Might be that one. I don't know. Anyway, you'll figure it out if you go to order from them. I mean, I don't claim that LL Bean has the best footwear out of everybody because I don't really know. And we'll come back to these two pages in a minute. They're just one of the few companies that I can buy that has my size. So I've bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pairs or something. So yeah, and I've had pretty good luck with their sizing and the fit overall. And I also brought in the sneakers again. I might as well include these. And I don't remember what the names of these were. Eco something. And I haven't worn them that much. They're kind of funky to walk in after I've been wearing heavy duty boots. It's kind of like if you're padding around the house and stuff, doing that sort of thing. They're less maybe you know, oh, okay. But when I take them out and go for a walk in them, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm not enough arch support, man. But they are a bit more built up than like a pair of Converse Chuck Taylor All-Stars. Little bit more similar to Vans-ish, I think, you know, and I've done video talking about these ones before. I had them also in the green color, and I had the Chukka boots in the gray or something, but they didn't fit it, and they got some delamination or something went wrong. I sent them back. So as you can see, no holes yet, not a ton of delamination yet. You can see where it's separating on that one edge by the seam there a little bit, which is standard with a pair of Vans. Converse, they usually the rubber kind of breaks more. I think Vans, you get a little more separation and holes. But they are canvas, but there's slightly different weave from either of those. Oh, it finally focused and I pulled it away. There you go. And so, you know, how do you compare the canvas to the canvas? I don't know. The laces mostly stay tied. They give me issues once in a while where I have to retie them more than some of the other ones. But just a basic sneaker, not super expensive. And again, I mostly bought these just because the color matches a lot of my mountain outfits or safari color outfits. So these, on the other hand, like I don't know which ones these were in the list. I have not worn these yet. These are only scuffed up from the box getting moved around and stuff. But these are a driving Moc, so they're a slightly different. They're not technically a boat shoe. They're not technically a camp Moc. I think these are called the driving Mocs. Don't quote me. And I don't know which ones they are. That's similar is the... See, none of those have the same amount of eyelets. This one at the bottom does. A through C for men. So C, whatever C is. Hand-sewn Mocs. So that's all they give me. Blukers. These are the Blutchers or Bluchers or Blukers or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, these are not the boat Mocs. These are not the camp Mocs. These are the Blukers, Bluchers, Blutchers, whatever. The B is the camp Moc, like I said, with the one eyelet and vase. But that is almost exactly the same, but not exactly the same as the boat shoes that I had before. These have the little doohickey in the back that the other ones do not, and they do have the same exact outsole though, and so I'm not sure exactly what's the difference. The insole is slightly different, and I don't know if this is the newer version of the older ones that I showed in the previous video though, so I don't exactly know what's the difference, but the leather feels a little bit different. Rose Anvil recently said they make their footwear in China. All my pairs except for one were made in El Salvador. None of them were made in China. What is this one? Yeah, El Salvador. And El Salvador. Yep. Yeah, all of them. I forget which one was the odd man out, but hand sewn Mocs, camp Mocs. So these are still listed. No, see, these have 2 eyelets, not one. So this is the next one over. Casco Bay Boat Mocs. I'm pretty sure that's this. Pretty sure this is the Casco Bay. But they've changed some of the names and things around. And then there's Blucher Mocs, which are slightly different. This is a different book than that other page might be from a different book. Allagash 3-eye, Allagash. There's 2 different 3 eyes, apparently. So that might be this, but I'm not sure because that outsole looks different. I don't know if this is the Allagash or not, because I got this a few years ago and might be the same thing, might be different. But the closest thing to it now currently is the Allagash. So if you want this, that's what they have. That's similar or the same. Okay. So again, this one is the boat shoe, the official boat shoe, though, because it has 2 eyelets instead of 1. But it's still, and it has the boat shoe outsole, same as the other one. And I wore these about the same amount this summer, maybe. I might have wore this one slightly more than this one, or vice versa. I don't know. I didn't quantify, but they were both given a bit of good attempt at usage without going too overboard. I guess I can show them as pairs instead of as compare side by side for a minute. It's always impossible for me to figure out with this camera. But so okay, so they have the footbed deal, and they have these you can't really tighten them up. They're just a slip-on. Those you can barely tighten them up or pretend like you're tightening them up, but essentially they're a slip-on also. You don't really have to unlace them to put them on. The laces are more decorative than functional. Okay, so get that out of the way since this video is going long, but that's okay. If you're really interested in yellow shoes, you found them. You're right. Okay. So like I said, back to these then. So like I said, instead you have the 2 eyes. This leather, like I said, they've gone to a more soft pebbled leather. I don't know if this is bison or not. Maybe. So they're a little bit less rigid than the blue pair that I have from before that I didn't wear at all this year. But I still have them. And like I said, these have the stitch in the heel. These just have this back stay kind of thing going on with the rolled over edge, same rolled over edge, so you can put the lace through the little eyelets, basically similar construction and all that. And I don't recall if I got these and these at the same time, but what I was about to complain about was the shipping. I cannot get any of these shipped to California. I had to get them shipped to relatives in other states like Texas and New York and get them and then pay for the shipping. So when someone like Gavin Newsom says that they really, really care about the tariffs hurting the consumers, he doesn't really care that this supposedly causes foot cancer now, and I can't order it. These I had to get sent from New York, 2 pairs of them, I think. Those I forget. But so let's talk about these next. And spoiler alert, I have another pair that are coming that are in Texas right now. They just got delivered to Texas today. So hopefully I get those by the end of the week and I can do a proper unboxing video for the other things that I almost bought last year and then didn't. I still don't really technically need them. But these are the nice 2-tone ones. They also had a not 2-tone version, but these are the more autumny, mountainy ones. This outsole, kind of in between a regular lug and a mini lug, so a decent lug without being too aggressive. But again, not a boating outsole. You could put a boating outsole on these, of course, pretty easily if you got tired of using them as hiking shoes and you wanted a little bit more security with the actual lacing system instead of the slip-ons. Because if you're on slightly rougher waters, I could see that being a thing that you would want to have. That personally, I can't. There's a loose thread in here. It's going to drive me nuts now that I saw it. But yeah, really squishy kind of front in here. I'm sure that'll wear down with time. The tongue has a bit more padding. It's not just a flap of leather. It's an actual tongue. It's an actual shoe. It's a derby construction with a, probably a fake Moc-Toe or whatever Rosanville calls them all in the thing. This one is a bison grain squishy leather again, same as the other one, but with this other stiffer leather to reinforce a bit more. Although it's not a super thick leather or anything, but it looks nice. Works. I like the two-tone. Like I said, I wore them a bit, but I didn't really wear them for outdoorsy stuff, because if I'm doing outdoorsy stuff, I'm typically wearing a more traditional hiking boot or a combat boot or something along those lines. So those, if you were staying for a week, at summer camp kind of thing, I think this would be, again, the more obvious option than this with the slick outsole, even though this is called the Camp Moc or whatever by every other company. And again, this being totally not a good outdoorsy outsole, but a nice leather shoe that should last a long, long time for casual use. So these were the ones that I put on the 12, and these were called the Ranger Moc. And I had got these on sale, and Iron Snail had, you can see I actually wore these. Iron Snail had done a video all about these, and that made me interested. I don't like the fit of these as much. I still want to put an insole in them, and I haven't bothered. They still just have the bean insole, so they're a little bit sloppy compared to the other ones. And even though with all this but they're like they're same as like a chukka boot. It looks like you can tighten it, but you can't, because where the eyelets are never pulls in tight. And I just noticed this. Okay, I don't know what that's my actual stitch fraying. I guess I'll have to try and figure out how to, maybe my neighbor has a hot glue gun or something I can borrow and kind of blob that before I trim it. But it's not really going to, it's knotted, so it's not going to affect anything, just kind of a sloppy detail that came out loose, whatever. So again, these do have a tongue though, but it is a flap of leather from the other part, not a built up tongue, just a little thing. And but it does have a rolled, and it does have a pull tab, a rolled collar a little bit. Up in here, we see where the extra stitching is, and it's not really padded, but there's a little bit of extra leather there instead of just a raw edge kind of slicing into your leg, hopefully. But it might look dorky, but usually you're going to wear socks that are taller than this. Whereas a lot of people will wear this without socks. I wear it with socks. I don't care. I don't like sliding around in my footwear very much, and I'm not on a boat most of the time, or hardly ever anymore. And yeah, I definitely wear socks with this. And this does have what feels like a bit of padding, but also is probably not really much padding. It's probably just where the leather's kind of bunched up, and you can kind of feel the lace in there, but I haven't noticed that part being annoying. I mean, you can see actually where it's a little bit grimy, even wearing with socks. So that's rubbing is causing some kind of blackening there on the inner liner. Trying to get the light to show stuff. Again, I'm not the guy who cuts these things in half, so if you can ever get him to do that, good luck. This one, on the other hand, totally unlined, just leather. But I'm sure not a true moccasin in all the specs and all that. The front has the same styling as the Grant Stone field boot and some of the other ones, Rancourt or whoever. And so the front has that same moccasin look, but the underneath of it, this is all glued in, so I don't really want to pull this apart. The underneath of it is probably not all one piece. This is probably, 3 pieces or whatever, all sewed together. So like that. So there's the inside, and there's the outside with a couple extra seams. So technically you have some fail points or whatever, but then here's the other one. You know, looks the same. And this one came with the rawhide laces. And I think I paid $80 for these. And then they have the stitch. Now this outsole is similar to the one he was saying he really liked. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to get this. I still think I'm going to get this caught on roots and rocks and junk and trip walking on that. The other one was kind of similar. No, see it. Yeah, nothing too extreme. So I don't know about that, but it is stitched through for what it matters. So I don't know how a cobbler resoles that, or if he wants to resole it or deal with it or what. I imagine you could put something a little more aggressive on it like this and make it into a better woodsy outsole, but also still not really a boaty outsole. You could wear this on a boat, I guess, if you really had to, but I don't know how this would react to the deck or whatever. Just being a big wedge out of the bottom without being an actual stacked heel. But mostly have walked them on asphalt, so that hasn't been an issue. And so there's that. I forget which boot I showed. I think this is the other one. If I can get the light in there we go. The other side. It's all dark brown, so you know what we can see. What little we can see, and it's got the suede part on the interior, and then obviously the scratched up part on the exterior, the smooth part. So the other ones, bean offers are less traditional looking hiking boots. There's some that look, you can never tell which ones are the men's and which, usually it's the women's that I think are the nicer ones. In this case, B is men's. Okay, so this dark brown one is men's, and it's shorter, more of a shoe than this one that's an actual boot. So they did, and the women's one looks even more like a running shoe to me. So the tall one would be the one that I would still consider a boot. That would be the most appealing, but like I said, I already got these Keen ones, and these are supposed to be work boots, I think, but to me they look more like hiking boots that aren't quite sneakers. So I kind of already have these romper stompers, so Bean will have to wait till next year if I get through these. I plan to wear these, like I said, and they were in my original 12 boots that I haven't really worn. So in a week or so, I'm going to try and slot these in, even though they're not Moc-Toes, and that, you know, kind of defeats the whole purpose of the Moc-TOE-BER that I'm not really getting to do. I mean, I could just wear the Wolverines and the Golden Foxes, but they've already got pretty significant wear, and I've mentioned them in several videos. And I could switch to the Thoroughgoods, but those don't really need much break-in, as I also explained. These are waterproof, though. I doubt these are. Excuse me. The Keen boot wants to make me want to sneeze. Okay. So sorry about that. One added feature of the LL Bean ones, of course, being the waterproof, but a lot of people will say they don't like the waterproof. Blah, blah, blah. What's the difference between these and the Keens? I don't know, because I don't have those, so I can't do a total rundown. But I did wear these like in the evening for like an hour when I first got them or something. Oh my. Okay. Well, if anybody's still watching at this point, this is the sneeze part of the video. So let's make it official here with part 3, the sneeze. So here's another pair that are waterproof hiking boots that are full leather and look more like the traditional Danner ones, the Cresta 2s. I don't have these either. I don't know if I will get these sometime because they do have the lace to toe pattern, and they do have a taller height similar to these than the typical Danners, which again are usually more shorter sneaker height in my opinion. Women's, men's. I don't see the price though. I'm not sure. Oh, $249. So not super expensive. Again, not sure how well constructed compared to some others. These were like only $100 or $120 or something though. So I got them on clearance just to get them. Like, so it wasn't really like, you know, are they the same for the price range or whatever? Like, it was like, who cares? They're $100. I'm just getting them, and if I hate them, I hate them. So that's kind of a slightly different conversation. But these look like, yeah, they full grain leather upper, waterproof with breathable lining, seals out weather, cushioned footbed, Vibram outsole. So instead of somebody's proprietary, they went full Vibram. Which may or may not be the best outsoles on the market, but they're the best known name, so take that as you will. Traction and durability, waterproof up to 1 centimeter below the top of the gusset. So you can get them wet pretty high up. I mean, the gusset's going to be about here. So you can't go wading in them. They're not hip waders, but if it's a light rain or a decent rain and you're wearing some weatherproof pants covering the tops of them, you know, that's the idea anyway. Not full knee hunting boots or anything, just regular. But like I said, I have so many other hiking boots right now. That's not the top priority and that kind of thing. And there's some other ones that they didn't show them in this catalog, but they were available online, and some that were already sold out in my size. So I had to order a wide width. But as I was saying with the bean, I've had pretty good luck, but these were a bit narrow. They did say, oh, they'll stretch in, and I guess that's true. And they're kind of smushy enough leather that I'm trying to show what I'm doing on camera. You know, that it's not too big of an issue pushing out the sides, but if you push out the sides too far, you're not really walking on the sole anymore. So that's kind of like, maybe the wide ones will be fine. We'll see. These are kind of the same thing, but these were a little less tight and narrow. If you hold up the toes next to each other, you can see what I'm talking about. Because when I first got these, I was like, oh, those are way too narrow. And then I just wore them anyway because they're just lazy slip-ons. Even though technically, like I said, to not be on this outsole, I should want a wider width. So you can see that there's not too much difference with the outsoles, except for up here by the toe where it kind of narrows in. But you can definitely see from the top down that I would be happier if they were a little bit wider. And these are only a tiny bit wider, but they're, again, still smushy enough that yeah, it's not a super thick work leather or anything, even though they look like they could be. And in a perfect world, maybe you'd want them to be a little more sturdy, and then you could use them for more multi-purpose shoes in that regard. But, and same thing with these. These are just, you know, they're not stiff work boots at all. And I don't even know. They might have a shank. I'm not positive. I doubt that these other ones do. They might. I'm afraid to break it. And there's some rigidity there. I can feel it. I don't want to totally break it. These, I don't know. These, again, I don't know if that's the rubber or if there's a shank or not. Again, not work boots. These, like I said, if you really wanted to, you could remove this and make them into boat shoes. It's probably the more realistic way to go. Or if you wanted a cobbler to build these up and go in there and find out what's in there and replace what's in there with, there might be cork and you might want leather instead. You could put a chunkier outsole, etc. But you're still dealing with, again, pretty thin, not really work leather. So, okay, 40 minutes later, I guess that's all for now. As usual, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I don't know what I forgot to mention. Like I said, I'll make another video soon about the 12 boots and some of this other stuff. And it's not first month of autumn still in effect, so we're not quite at the shift yet. Like I said, we got another 9 or 10 days or whatever, however you want to count that.